Here we go.
Oh, here it is.
Got it. Yes, there we are. We are live. Good.
Got it.
Oh my God, I'm having some technical demons today. Good afternoon, Liz Scotta. Welcome to Continuous Line Storytelling.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for having me, Meagan.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, pretty exciting to chat, to be talking with you today about your process, your path to self-publishing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I can remember like first, well, actually, when we go back, we met in the San Miguel Urban Sketchers group, you know, when you would come from San Francisco, visit us in San Miguel. And I remember hearing that you had self-published your book. And I think that was probably about, well, at this point, like 3-4 years, probably 4 years ago at this point, right? I don't know, time sort of mashes together. And I was like, wow, that's gotta be super complicated to self-publish, huh?
It's not easy, but no, if I can do it, anybody in the group can do it. It's
What
just
was your, why
time.
did you,
Just time, that's all. And
Yeah.
determination.
what made you decide to self-publish your book, your work?
A combination of things. One was I was going down to San Miguel in the summertime when I was a teacher, and I was filling up all these sketchbooks of San Miguel. And I thought, what am I going to do with 10, 15 sketchbooks of San Miguel? And one day I saw an ad in La Atención, the newspaper in the Biblioteca, and it was from Anthony Malucci and Patty Garcia, wanting to know if you wanted to be a self-published artist and to give them a jingle. And so I did. I met with them. And I thought, this is
Well, hang on. So they were literally, they put an ad in the Atención, which I don't know if you've heard, that paper is no longer, right? It's all digital now.
I did.
But so they put an ad in the paper and they were basically selling their services as editors.
Yes, absolutely.
Or
So
publishers or
a free consultation. Anthony was a seasoned editor, Italian-American from Connecticut. I liked him right away. And Patty was more an up-and-coming editor, having all the technical and computer skills of Kindle publishing.
So basically, when you decided that you wanted to do self-publishing, I mean, I know you a little bit, Liz, over the years, we've hung out and stuff like that. We've been in sketch groups together. And I know that you're very skilled at a lot of things, but I wouldn't say you're super skilled on the technical side of things, right?
No.
So even though you're not, like in my mind, you have to be scanning and doing all the page setups, you literally found someone who could help you get everything organized, right?
Yes, Patty brought all the expertise of the elements of a book.
So before we get even farther into it, why don't you show us, what is the first book that you self-published and what year was that?
I self-published this book about San Miguel, a bilingual English-Spanish book.
A little hard to see it. Look, move it to the angle, and angle it a little bit so we can see it. Yeah, my sketchbook of San Miguel de Allende.
En mi cuaderno de San Miguel de Allende. So it's a Spanish-English book with all drawings of San Miguel and a couple of day trips outside of San Miguel. This was the first one I did under the leadership of Patty Garcia.
Okay, wait, so
it was in 2013. You asked me when it was published.
Yeah, show us, just let us see a page or two of that, right? Just so we get an idea of what.
Okay. Well, here's one where it's a day trip out of San Miguel and
a little bit closer.
Dolores Hidalgo.
So, Liz, I know you've been in the Continuous Line Storytelling group. Hang on, hold that up there.
I'm going to put another one, I thought.
All right.
Oh, this one I love. This one.
But don't go so fast, right? Hold it steady because it all takes. Yeah, we can't even see that one. The other one was a little bit better because it was a little easier to see.
Oh, shoot.
So, Liz, yeah, hold that steady just for a moment. So now tell us a little bit about your style, because you're kind of continuous line, but it's not, it's just part of your game. So tell us, how would you describe your style?
Okay, I would describe my style as a linear illustrator frequently I paint within the lines, but I don't erase. I don't draw in pencil and then put line ink over the lines. I just draw it. If I make a mistake, I just keep going.
Yeah.
So no erasure in my illustrative works.
And so how long would you say you've been doing? I mean, I know you've been doing your art thing for a long time. So how long have you been at this?
A while.
Yeah.
Since
A
80s.
couple- yeah, a couple
80s
decades,
would be a
right?
good decade to say. Okay.
So would you say it was like after about 20 years and piling up the sketchbooks, you were like, hey, I think I'm going to start to do something with these, right?
I have a lot of sketchbooks and I never had children. So I thought, what am I going to do with all these sketchbooks? So that was another reason
Yeah.
I decided to self-publish. I thought, well, I'll be putting them all, the best of each sketchbook, and making a permanent book out of my
Well,
sketches.
and to that point, I don't think, I mean, I don't have children either, right? But I don't think having children is a guarantee that they're going to be like, the children are going to lovingly hold on to anyone's sketchbooks, right? Like maybe, but
Worse, could be worse.
right? There could be a bonfire out back, right? So honestly, I'm speaking from my own, right? Honestly, I think that that's a really nice idea because, you know, I don't have a lot of, you know, people in my orbit either, right? So it's sort of like legacy building, right? And what a nice legacy to leave, right? Especially if this, as an artist, this is something that you've dedicated a lot of time, effort, financial resources to being an artist and to traveling as an artist, which is another thing you're very good at. I know, just having spoken with you over the years, as you were still working, I know you're retired now, but you put a lot of effort into planning the whole travel and being an artist.
Well, I was a teacher for 20 years. I was a bilingual teacher here, Spanish English teacher, 5th grade teacher in San Francisco public school system. I was also a teacher in Mexico in the 1970s. I worked in a prepa in Iguala. But so I would have summer vacations, and teachers, I didn't do anything unusual, Meagan. All teachers, they get out of Dodge. When it's the summertime, they fly somewhere, they go camping locally. But yeah. I did trips to Europe, and then I found San Miguel in the year 2000. And no, 2010, sorry, 2010. So
that was your first time in San Miguel, 2010?
Actually, no. Actually, I was in San Miguel in the 1970s.
Oh, yeah, you just said you taught there or somewhere in Mexico?
In Iguala. In Iguala.
Okay.
But I went to San Miguel in search of those famous coat sweaters at Christmas time. That was back in 74, 75.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they were knitted in the jail of San Miguel. You had to go to the jail to get a coat sweater of San Miguel.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I know, like when I first went there, the prisoners were making all those beautiful colored, plastic colored bags, right? That the woven plastic bags that were very popular. Those were being made up at the prison. So yeah, interesting. And now, so you back to your book here. So you found basically two publishing assistants. Do you think that's easy to find that now? You just Google. What do you do? What would you do now? Would you just Google self-publishing?
I would just do a Google search of self-publishing editors.
Yeah, because I think that Amazon and other self-publishing sites are like, oh, just come and self-publish, but there's a lot more to it, especially when you talked about the organization of it, which is very time consuming, right? So how long, can you talk a little bit about the timing?
Of the first book, I met them in 2012, and then I went back in 2013 with a whole bunch of sketchbooks, met various days with Patty, and then she took all the books and scanned them. Yeah. My first two books were scanned, not photographed, the sketches. And the book came out like the end of 2013. So it was several months after I handed over the sketchbooks to my editor graphic artists.
I mean, I would imagine that's a huge part of it, the whole scan, photographing or scanning, whichever way you do that as far as your art. That's pretty time consuming, especially you said you brought several sketchbooks down, right? How many sketchbooks would you say?
The one for San Miguel, that was close to 10 sketchbooks, 3 different summers. Yeah.
So you kind of had
I
to,
filled them up. I just filled them up.
no,
It's
I know.
always-
And I know you're a very fast sketcher. I mean, I've seen you in action. I consider myself a fast sketcher, but I think you like blow past me, man. And so I know you're a fast sketcher, and so you have so what that means is like having 10 sketchbooks or however many you had to take the time and make the wherewithal to sort of pare it down. Like, what's the story I want to tell, right?
Well,
Like,
I had to do the Sophie's choice, which one was going to get included in the book and which wasn't. So I did categories: interiors, exteriors, garden sites of San Miguel, restaurants. So I broke it down into categories, and then day trips outside of San Miguel.
so that's, I mean, no matter what the subject of your self-publishing book, that's kind of a good way to think about it, right? Just break it down, break it down, break it down, because you basically have to have it separated in chapters or some sections, right?
Yes.
And as a little sidebar, I know that that's kind of how you pack for your trips too, don't you?
That's true.
Okay, so Liz, I've always been amazed at her traveling prowess, right? Do I dare say that?
30 pounds. You can't take more than 30 pounds. That's my
Right.
limit.
So Liz is very good at packing for her trips. And the way your method of that is you draw everything that goes into your suitcase. Tell us the method for packing for your trips.
Well, I try to have a capsule wardrobe, but I do draw.
Capsule wardrobe, that's a good one.
And I weigh everything in a little plastic bag on a Weight Watcher scale. And if it's heavy, it doesn't go on vacation. But like, here's a wardrobe. Here's
Let's see
something
that. Move that in
that I drew for a trip.
closer. Bring that in a little bit closer, closer, closer. Because we want to see a little bit of that detail. Bring it in even closer to the camera.
Okay.
So when you're, let's see, what is this trip for? What are you getting ready
This was
for
a
here?
trip where it was a combination of being in London for a few days
Huh?
and flying off to Marrakesh, Morocco for a hiking trip.
Now that's a bit of a drastic change in weather.
Yeah, tell me.
Morocco.
Yeah.
So you said that if something is too heavy, it doesn't go. What do you do about you got to bring a jacket to London usually, right? So what do you do?
Yes.
No sweaters, just a jacket?
I have a sweater or two there.
Oh, you do, okay.
Cashmere, because they're so light.
Yeah.
Not wool. Wool doesn't go. It's too heavy.
Too heavy.
It stays home.
Isn't
But
that
capsule, I have certain colors that I take, no more than 3 colors. So everything goes together.
you can mix and match everything, right?
Yeah.
So Liz, I'm packing for Ireland right now, and I promise you, this is the first time I have ever been this organized, because I started packing like a week ago, and I'm not disorganized, but I'm not usually like, let me plan this out, right? And so I'm kind of getting down to the wire, leaving in a few days here. I've got a wool sweater in there. You telling me I can't bring my wool sweater? Beautiful Irish wool sweater. It's actually English. Too much?
Too much. I would take, if you had a light cashmere sweater, or the other thing you do is you go to the thrift shops in Ireland and you buy sweaters there.
I mean, I got this sweater
You
at the
upcycle.
I got this at the thrift deal here. I'm gonna have to think about that because it's
Or
really.
you take it and you give it away. You trade it with somebody. You
Oh,
say,
that's
"Here's
an
a sweater."
idea. Because my plan is to wear it every day.
Wear it every day and then give it away.
I like that. I like the idea.
The sweater's going to go back to the sheep of Ireland. Yeah.
That's actually. Do you do that a lot too? Do you?
I always pack clothes that I know I'm not going to bring back. I give them away to people. Yeah, I do that a lot of trips.
Yeah. Huh. That's a good idea. I kind of like that because I kind of want to have the sweater with me, but then if it gets me too much, I can give it away. What's stopping me from giving it away, right?
Nothing.
So I guess the key is to like really just stay loose and flexible with it, right? Like you want to have your travel bag light enough where you can lift it over things, right? or go up
Right.
a flight of stairs.
Right, yeah.
But you
Step.
want to have some of your basics too, and if it proves that they're too much, give them away.
Right.
Okay, back to the self-publishing. These are good little travel tips. I like that.
All right.
Okay, so about almost a year later, your book came together after like you working with the folks that were in San Miguel, editors who helped you publish your book. So there was a process of photographing or scanning your images, organizing everything, and then what about the words? Is there a storytelling in your? I mean, is there a story? Is there even like a subheading? What am I trying to say? Are there any words in your book?
The words in my book are in both English and Spanish.
And
I got
what are your
Spanish
words?
underneath and English on the top. So yeah. And then everything had to be translated, all my writing. I didn't write that much, but everything in the book, English and Spanish that I
So
want.
are your words in the book, are they mostly just a description of what we're looking at, or is there a little bit of storytelling to it?
There's a little bit of storytelling about the time, for example, when I drew a convent in San Miguel, and this old guard was standing there watching me, and I was all upset because the bottom of the convent didn't appear in the paper. Then I started drawing from the bottom, and I was drawing up, and then the dome of the steeple didn't get included. And I was frustrated, and this man came over to me and he said, "Señorita, why don't you just get a bigger piece of paper?" What a brilliant idea. Instead of, a little 5x8, hey, 9x12. And so
Hey,
I had the 9x12 paper, and the convent fit in the piece of paper. So sometimes I seek the advice of the guards in
yeah.
the places where I sketch. But also fonts. We should talk a little bit about fonts. Patty Garcia is brilliant when it comes to fonts. And you want to have, if anybody out there is thinking of publishing their book, make certain you have good font on the cover, so that if somebody is trying to look for a book on an iPhone, you want to have it so that you can clearly see the title of your book from an iPhone, not from, an HP computer desktop.
Yeah. So hold up that San Miguel book, and then next to it, hold up your recent book.
Okay.
Put San Miguel on the other side. Switcheroo. Put San Miguel. Switcheroo. There we go. So we can see where it started, where it's at now, right? So you can see that your first book of San Miguel, the font is very light, right? It's very hard to see even your name. And then somewhere in between the first book and the third book, you were told, okay, beef up those fonts, right?
No.
So tell us about, okay, so this is your recent book, Not Just Paris, Scenes from France. When did this come out, Liz?
June of 2023.
Almost
Last month. Where was launched in Amazon France, Kindle Direct Publishing in June of this year, and then July 31st in the rest of Amazon.com.
Okay,
Canada,
so
America, Mexico, Europe, etc.
Your first book, my San Miguel sketchbook, that was, you worked with editors who photographed your art and helped piece together the book into a program that it was then sent to a printing house, right?
Right, Ingram Spark, located in Tennessee.
And tell me again, how long from the time that you met Patty until it was sent to the printer, how long was that, would you say?
I met with her at Christmas last year, and we formatted pages together after she had hundreds of images. And then she sent the finished product to the publisher in about May of this year. And then at the beginning of May, and then it took about a month to get out all the nuts and bolts out of the program to have it be published in.
Right. Okay. So with Amazon having these self-publishing programs or sites, the important element, that the reason why you worked with someone with Patty is that whole organizing
Right.
Organizing a page. What did you just call it? You sat with her?
Yeah, it's all digitized. So for example, Amazon has a relationship, Kindle Direct Publishing, direct printing. So Amazon contracts with printers around the world, whether it's Canada, Mexico, England, Italy, whatever. And so if somebody orders a book in England and they're going to get that book in 3 days, that book is going to be printed in England. If you order a book in Mexico, the book is going to be printed in Mexico through one of the contractors.
But I was even speaking to the process before you even get to the printing, because what it sounds like the most time-consuming element in self-publishing is the organizing of the pages, the adding the text, the fonts,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
And
the proofreading that's involved, oh my God. You know, my index where every single drawing had to have the title, and then it had to be alphabetized in the index. It took weeks, and I'm a pretty good proofreader. I'm an ex-secretary too. And it just took weeks of my life, just figuring out the categories and the pages that the images were on. So yeah, there's a lot of meticulous detail in self-publishing a book. You're absolutely right.
So it sounds like if this is something, I mean, there's probably ways to do it on the fly, but if you literally I have decided that you want to self-publish a book, not a bad idea. A good way of doing it would be to find someone who can support you in the editorial aspect of it, to get the page layout. What program were you working in for page layout? Do you remember?
For me, I was doing it in Word doc, sending my documents like the index or my introduction was being sent to Patty as a Word, or we sent each other PDFs, that format.
Yeah. And
so we would upload everything to Ingram Spark, and then they would turn it.
You're talking about the printing, so I just want to make sure we give enough attention to the fact that the biggest, sending it up to the printer, then it's like they're printing it. But to get at that point of when you decide to do a book, and then you find someone who's going to help support you in that, really the meat of the whole project is getting things organized into a thoughtful book, right? It feels like we hear the term self-publishing kind of tossed around oh, I self-published, but I just did my first ebook, right? It was
congratulations.
Thanks. It was finalized last night, and that was exciting, but it took some time to get everything organized but nowhere to the level of how many pages is in your first book?
First book was 90.
90.
The second edition of the book was 120. Why did I do that?
Why did you do that? So that you have both
One
books?
Day, see the difference. You notice there's a big difference between.
Hold them both up so we can see what we're looking at here. What do we got here? Well, no, let's see the covers first. Let's see.
No, the spine is what I'm trying to show people.
Yeah, but I wanted to see what we were looking at. So
people have seen this cover.
So it's the same cover for the second edition.
You need over 120 pages to have the title of a book on a spine. And this was a major mistake I made in my very first book. It was so small that the title was not on the spine. So one day I went to a bookstore and the man agreed to sell my books, but he said, "Lady, I hope you have a day job." I said, "I do. I'm a teacher. Why do you ask?" And he said, "Without the title on the spine, I can only show your book this way." And a lot of bookstores don't have that kind of space. They want to show the books this way. So always make certain you have at least 120 pages that would have the space to have your title. Trust me, I made that mistake. That was one of the first
mistakes that you realized, and you were able to recover that when you did the second edition. Now there's a second book, My Travels. What is it? Travels with My Sketchbook.
Travels with Sketchbook.
So I know that having you and I chatted about this, this is book you said was the one you feel like you kind of made some mistakes, right? So tell us about that, because well, we don't want everyone to think that you're such an organizational queen, that it was all smooth sailing. Tell us about some of the bumps in the road.
Oh, God. Well, I tried to do it too fast. Bottom line is, I thought, oh, I've done the 2013 edition. I've done the 2014 second edition of the first book. Now it's 2015. Patty and I have worked together for a couple of years. I can just go down there with my sketchbooks July 1st, and by August have a book. Well, Patty was working her butt off trying to get it all together. She was scanning the images, and I had it organized by countries, this book. So it's a series of sketchbooks from different countries and cities.
So wait, just so I just want to make sure your first book were all your sketches of San Miguel, and this one you said, let's get them all in there, right? Like wherever I've been in the world, let's do them all.
The bottom line is, I tried to do too much, too soon, not enough time proofreading. There are mistakes in this book that make me embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I didn't take the time. It was my job to proofread. It wasn't Patty's, it was my job. And I did a poor job. It was just like, we got to get it done. July's almost finishing, and I'm going to go back to America, and I got to teach 5th grade, August 15th. So let this be a lesson that the faster you try to do your book, you're not going to have the book that you want. It just isn't going to happen. So give yourself double the time.
Would you say it's a safe projection to say, hey, I want to self-publish my first book. I'm going to give myself 1 year. Is that kind of a good guideline?
1 year is okay. If somebody's out there wanting to do their memoir for Christmas gifts, no. A year would be, yeah.
So a year, if you want to start doing some self-publishing, give yourself a year. And also Google to see what local resources you have, right? Like you happen to be in San Miguel where someone was actually running an ad for what you were, well, I don't know, were you looking for it, or that sparked your idea?
It just popped off the page. It popped off the page. And
I
contacted them, and because Anthony was from Connecticut as an Italian-American guy, had taught in Wesleyan.
Is that what you are too? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I was University of Connecticut, but it was like there were all these things that I had in common. So, and I really liked Patty. And so there was just, like you meet people and you just have this feel that it works well. So
and honestly, I think that happens around the world, but I think San Miguel is a pretty special place for those kinds of connections.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree. So, okay. So the first book you said came out in 2014.
2012 and 2013.
Okay. Yeah. And then Travels with the Sketchbook, your second one.
2015.
That came out in 2015. And so are both of these both books, are they available on Amazon?
Yes. Yes.
Are they?
Can I give some advice to your listeners? 2 people this week told me, Liz, I want to buy your book, but I won't do business with Amazon. And I thought, oh my God, I never thought of that. So I emailed Patty last night. Patty, we got to get it on Barnes and Noble. We got to get it on Apple Books. And so she's going to upload the book again to Ingram Spark in Tennessee.
Your printer.
The printer, yes. And then they're going to, or Kindle Direct Publishing, they're going to get it on other platforms. So that was that's a mistake I almost made until these 2 people came right out and said, I don't do business on Amazon.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because in fact, in this whole conversation, Amazon is the only one I mentioned because that's what I was thinking. That's all there is, right?
There isn't. Yeah.
But you just said, so you can, is that called publish? No, you can sell your books through other platforms like Barnes and Noble. They're still alive.
Yeah, no. It went under.
I had no idea they were so that's just in the United
Have a
States.
presence in the shopping malls of Northern California. I didn't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen one of those in decades, but that's just in the US, right? And what was the third? I feel like there was another one you just said.
Apple, there's some kind of Apple bookstore.
Apple, that little thing called Apple, huh?
Apple
mean-
Publishing, Apple Books, whatever, but there's more than just Amazon.
Isn't that any others that you know of? Because I don't know.
That's what I've learned just this week. Just this
Yeah.
week, I
I
found
mean,
that.
that's pretty good to know, because I think we all, we give money to the beast just because it makes it so easy, right? You push a button and it's at your door, right? So,
Right.
but it's just like those people who refuse to use Facebook, right? It's like you gotta oh right, you people. But that's good. So now your books, you're talking about your recent book, right?
I'm sorry, what?
You're talking about your new book. That's what's available.
The new book, I was told by someone in French class yesterday who's known me, no, I won't buy your book.
I will not buy it through Amazon. The pity.
She gave me good advice. It was good. I'm going to use that, take a lemon and make lemonade. I'm going to use
right.
advice.
So, okay, that's super good information, right? That Amazon is not the only bully on the schoolyard. They're a pretty big bully, but not the only one. Okay, so, all right, you did your first book, and then you did a second edition of your first book, and then you did your second book, which you feel like you were like, that's where you learned a lot, because you realized what not to do, and that can be very valuable, right?
Well, it had a lot of color, and the size was bigger than the first book, so it just ended up, it's more expensive, so I didn't sell as many copies. I didn't have a good launch of the book. That's a whole other kettle of fish, launching.
Yeah.
Open
up this book so we can see just an example. And so your first book is how much on Amazon? Your sketchbooks of San Miguel?
It's now $18. When
$18.
it first came out, it was about it was 15, I think.
Okay. And what about this book?
Came out at $30.
This book is $30?
Yeah.
That's kind of a lot, right?
I know, that's why it hasn't sold. It's got some great drawings in it.
Wait. I think you went through that very fast. Let's see that again. And because Zoom needs a moment to zoom in.
Here's one. I was on the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and I was up there drawing. I don't think you can even go up there anymore, but I was up there sketching it.
That was pre-COVID, when you could climb over everything. So what is the medium here? Is that markers?
Magic markers, yeah.
So is that when you go out, you're a worldwide travel urban sketcher. What do you usually bring? You bring markers and stuff like that? What do you bring when you go out?
I bring a variety of.
Show us a few more up there.
Pens. I bring uniballs, microns, Pentels, and I draw directly on the paper with these. Remember, I don't use pencil. I'm not really good at drawing with pencil. I need permanent pens. Fountain pens. I have Lamy, I have the Futhi, I have all these fountain pens. I can clog a fountain pen bigger, faster than anybody I know.
Well, you should come to my September 30th, the Art of the Fountain Pen with Alejandro Anaya. September 30th, San Miguel de Allende.
You're on.
But okay, Liz, so how long have you been urban sketching? Go ahead, show that to us.
Urban sketchers, let's see, here's a little porch in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Urban sketchers, I joined in 7 years ago with Lori.
7 years. So you joined your local San Francisco chapter.
Yeah. So I've done Urban Sketchers, San Francisco Sketchers, it was called. Sunset Sketchers. I've drawn with Yorkshire in England, Budapest. I have a drawing in one of their books. They included a beer fest that I drew. And I've drawn in Paris. I've drawn in Urban Sketchers Paris. And San Miguel, obviously. Yeah.
San Miguel, yeah. And so were you going to show us another drawing, or was that it from that?
No, I could. Let's see.
I just wanted to like, just talk
I
a
mean,
little
some of
briefly
these
about.
drawings are lovely drawings, but the book just was a fiasco. Here's Cappadocia in Turkey, all the cave-like hotels and homes and churches that you can go in. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just gorgeous Turkey.
Now your travel times, when you're out there traveling, you organize your travels so that you go on these art making adventures, right? Like you're usually taking an art class, doing some sort of a semester someplace when you do your travels. Is that right?
Yes, I recommend that if you're traveling, even if you're traveling by yourself, it's a way to go somewhere and meet up with like-minded people. So I've traveled and taken a couple of workshops in southern France.
And the workshops that from what I understand, or what I recall, is you do a lot of language classes, right?
I study French each July in Paris. And this semester I'm studying phonetics. So I'm finally going to learn how to pronounce the language.
Oh, wow.
It's embarrassing. I mean, I know the museums, I know the metro system in Paris like the back of my hand, but my pronunciation is
It's tough.
It's an embarrassment.
Yeah, I lived there for a few months. It's challenging. How many times have you been to Paris now?
Oh God, 2017, 18, 19, 21, 21, 22, 23, 7 times.
7 times. Wow, nice. Okay, so Liz, your most recent book, Not Just Paris, Scenes from France. When did you start working on that? When did you decide, okay, I'm ready for my 3rd book? I've licked all my wounds. I've learned my lessons. When did you say, okay, we're 3 times the charm now?
July 1st, 2017. I was
Oh.
sitting in a dormitory in Paris with European Studies Association, and I was listening to Dr. Tom Blair, and I learned that it was almost 40 years old. And I sat there and I said,
What was almost 40 years old?
The organization, European Studies Association, or ESA, it's called.
Uh-huh.
And it was a French language program. City College of San Francisco, city colleges in Los Angeles and Southern California. And I thought, I want to come back next year and the following year. I want to put together a 3rd book on Paris and France that would be a tribute to Tom Blair for the 45th anniversary. So I always had the goal. I've had the goal since 2017.
Oh, 2017. Then, of course, we had a COVID break and all that.
But
So,
I took a virtual vacation. So I have my virtual vacation in the book too.
yeah, nice. So being there in San Francisco, you were able to sort of see what your local resources, your local academic resources were, like sister programs between San Francisco and Paris, which I would imagine there's a fair number of, right? Because that seems like a good fit, those 2 cities.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that these sorts of programs are available, at least in the United States, and many of them. Like I'm sure a lot of the schools and universities have some sort of program that
There's
you could.
normal, yeah. If somebody were interested, let's say somebody's interested in Rome.
Yeah.
I would just go Google junior year abroad in Rome, summer workshop in Rome, and they could find different workshops. But I also want to give a pointer. If you go to Italy, you can always stay in a convent or a monastery for under $100 a night. You just go on monasteries.com. I stayed in a convent in Assisi, right across from the major convent.
Did you have to like scrub floors and?
No. It was the nuns. I've learned over the years, nuns are really sweet, lovely ladies. They just.
I mean, I would imagine they've had to clean up their image too, because the past, it's been a rough century, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. And they probably also want to bring in some resources of letting people stay there, right? So
Right,
that kind of
right.
makes sense. So it's really like you just kind of have to like be a little crafty. Like, I mean, you know, I do art workshops, and I'm not trying to tell anyone don't do art workshops with Meagan Burns, but if you're a sketcher, as we are, I mean, all my workshops are sketching because I love it. And I know when you go traveling, you're a sketcher. There's lots of sketching workshops, but there are other ways to get around and see the world as an artist. But come to me first. And okay, cool. That's super useful information. And then so back to your book, which I sort of strayed you away from. You decided you wanted this third book to be a
Tribute to Tom Blair.
Yeah.
For the 45th anniversary. And so the program started in 1978. So I handed Tom a copy of Not Just Paris, Scenes from France,
Go girl.
in July of this year on the 45th anniversary.
Okay, that took some organizational chops, didn't it, Liz Scotta?
Yes, it
So show us some drawings from that book if you want, because I'd like to see some of the page formats. Because right, look at the cover of this book, you can see how the evolution, like you got much stronger with your fonts, right?
How about if I show you a night in Moulin Rouge,
Ooh.
drawing two little tiny lamps that were on the table.
Bring it closer so we can see, right? Even closer, because I want to see this. Yeah, I might have to lose your face on this.
That's okay with me.
So tell us about it.
So we were at the Moulin Rouge and I brought my sketchbook, obviously, and I was drawing. And I included a waitress. She's over there on the right side. And she asked if she could take a photograph. And of course I said yes. And she kept filling up our champagne glasses the more I drew. And more waiters and waitresses came over to our table. So it was fun. It was enjoyable. And then the bottom two drawings are a hotel right down the street from the Moulin Rouge that actually used to be a bordello. And it does have purple and red and olive green velvet furniture.
I mean, that looks like a Toulouse-Lautrec painting, right? I mean, it probably is, right?
Yeah.
So show us another one. Show us another. Because so this book that was Paris, but you went throughout France for this one.
Okay, here's a 4-hour drawing I did. It was 40 degrees.
4 hours.
4. Yeah, I have stamina. This one was on top of the Arc de Triomphe, and it was it was in October or November. It was really
unless are those two people about to jump off the building there?
Maybe. You get here's Bellevue. The reason I'm showing them is you can see the change in the leaves. You can see the colors of the fall foliage in Paris. That's why I thought I would show this.
And so I know your book in San Miguel was bilingual or had both. What about this one? Is this French and English or just English?
This one has some of the titles are in French. Most of them are in English. And, you know, I learned the difference between saint and saint, you know.
Sing-song.
Here's a collage that I did of Luxembourg Garden with the sailboats. I like this collage a lot. This was part of my virtual vacation in 2020.
Yeah, so those that don't know Liz, she's a big, is it paper collage? What's the
fashion magazines and restoration hardware.
Wait, what?
Fashion magazines.
That's where you get your, but is it called paper collage? Is that what that is?
I just call it collage, but that's
collage, right. Yeah, you're kind of a whiz with cutting out images and stuff like that and piecing them together. Is that too?
Here's a self-portrait. Yeah. So this has a lot of like restoration hardware there. I can tell.
Oh, so you're referring to that
that catalog. Yeah.
So, I mean, gosh, that must be a little tricky, even just finding magazines. Well, I suppose catalogs are still out there and you're in America, so you probably can get those pretty easily.
Yeah.
So So this book is now available on Amazon. Are all three of your books available on Amazon and other
Yes, they
publishers?
are. Yes.
Okay. And so your third one, not just Paris, how much is this one?
This
Muscle Man.
one, I'm drawing a blank, $23.
$23.
It's 243 pages.
Oh, so that's a big book, right? It looks
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's almost double.
And so do you, I mean, at this point, because now you're more skilled in doing the self-publishing, do you know that that size is better, especially to be able to appreciate and see your art, right?
Well, I was really trying to have a book be no more than $20. I thought, oh, 23, 20. We tried and I kept eliminating images. I'm like, Patty, should we make the book smaller inside? How can we bring the cost down to 20? But at 23, we went over the main budget for people, but I did what I had to do.
But it's also, how many pages is that?
243.
I mean, that's a lot, right? Your first book, you said it was 90 is what you started on.
Yeah,
Then you,
yeah.
second edition, you went up to 120, so you can get the spine information. And then the Travels with My Sketchbook, how many pages was that?
I don't even know offhand. It's a lot. 188.
188. And so this one, not just Paris, is 200 and what?
243 with over 300 images. Now, these aren't going to show probably, but like some of the pages, what would be a good example? Like here's an example where there's 3 images on one page.
Uh-huh.
So I either have 1, 2, 3, or 4 images on a page.
Yeah.
A lot of paintings didn't make it in the book.
I mean, so that's just shows gives a little bit of a nod to, I know you're a very quick sketcher and you can like crank them out. You really can. I've seen you.
I can do it. Well, it's practice. Come on.
I know. I mean, I feel like I can go at a pretty good clip too, but I've seen you blow past me.
I've done a lot of 4-hour drawings too. I've done
Yeah.
4-hour drawings, and
Boy, I don't think I've done a 4-hour drawing. And
this was in, where was it? Palermo, this building in Italy.
Yeah.
It was 4 hours, that
Wow.
drawing. It was freezing
And,
cold.
that is a
Started
beautiful
to
thing.
snow in Palermo, but I sat on the stone wall and had to, more windows, more arches. Yeah, I did it.
And, I don't even want to say, oh, like the speed is, that I say this in my continuous line, it's not the goal to be quick, but it is a nice benefit of a drawing practice is you really, and even, I know you kind of do continuous line, but you do your own shtick. And just with practice, you're able to do it a lot quicker, right? I mean, I did Bellas Artes here in Mexico City, like boom, 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 and I was at lunch, right? And it's a really good feeling. And I think what with you've now got 3 books, and they're a wonderful, you've got this wonderful legacy, right? And just showing the evolution of your art and just you as an artist, right? And so what a wonderful way to memorialize yourself. I'm not saying you're dropping dead anytime soon, but it's nice to have those, right? It's sort of nice. You're an author now. I know your books were featured, were in the San Miguel.
Yeah, in the Miguel Writers Conference. It was like, wow, for 1 week, February 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
It was an author.
Did you get like
a writer and not just an artist, but an author? And it felt really, really special to be.
Did you get free drinks and a seat at the bar at Hank's? Did they like treat you?
No, but it's just something that I will always treasure.
You know what, having just, like I said, ebook is something different, but I did just do my first ebook and I had to fill out all these forms and stuff. And it's an author, Meagan Burns. There is something really nice about that, right? Because I'm an artist. I know that took me a while to like come to terms with, yeah, I am an artist. And now I know I am. And now I'm an educator. I teach and everything, but like to fill out the paperwork, author, Meagan Burns, it's a good feeling. And right. I feel like and, you know, having this conversation with you and being inspired by, you know, you kind of break it down. We get an idea of what's involved in doing it. And then there's just that feeling of like being an author, right? What kind of, it goes nicely with the whole artist shtick, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
It does. Yeah. So when's your next book? Phew. You don't have to answer that.
Give the French book a really good launch this year.
Came out, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we have
There's
to.
a lot to launch. That's a whole other area. I'm trying to
The
learn
marketing
different
and stuff.
ways to launch a book.
Yeah.
But there'll be another one. It's not going to be the last one, but now that I know that that one took, 6-7 years to do, I have to start thinking, well, am I going to do another one where I'm drawing from different sources, or is it going to be, starting off at, I don't know, India or wherever I've gone or will return? I don't know. But I do want to show one other drawing. I put this on the Continuous Line Facebook site. Here's an example of, I'm in this famous church in Haarlem, Netherlands, and there was a storm was coming. And so they decided that they were going to close this beautiful cathedral at 3:30 instead of 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I'm like, what are you telling me? We're there at 3:30 thinking I'm going to be drawing for an hour and a half. I had 10 minutes, but I said, okay, here we go. It's got to be Continuous Line.
Gotta be.
It's a good example of when I would use Continuous Line.
Bring it closer just so we can see a little bit more of the detail. Even closer, a little higher, move it a little bit higher. Yeah, look at that. Look at those beautiful continuous lines, right? Continuous line is really a great way to get things done, right?
Yeah, there's a good purpose of it.
Yeah, so we got a few friends here. Elaine Bowie is here.
Hi,
Rhoda,
Elaine.
yeah, hi Elaine. Rhoda, took her a while, but she's in the room. Janet in Pennsylvania said that the Walden Books was liquidated, but Barnes and Nobles is alive and well in the USA. I forgot about Walden Books. Is that one that you said, Walden Books, or no?
I didn't say that one.
Yeah.
Didn't
And
think so.
Janet also loves the cover of the French book with the colors of the French flag. And Connie is here, Connie Hamilton. Polly, there's Polly. She's a retired school teacher from Chicago, now living in the upper snowbound Michigan. What is that called? The Upper Peninsula. So I'm glad that you could all be, and yeah, Connie, there's Connie. I know you're getting ready to write a book, and I think you should.
Oh,
So
congratulations, Connie.
And there's Scott. So well, I think look at that, right? Coming into the finish line. I hate to keep going over, right? So this is good. We're just a few minutes under. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to? I mean, I'm going to post links to all this stuff and anything else you want to share. So I will share that on as I reshare. The recording will be in YouTube, so that'll go out. What else, Liz?
If you have a passion for something, do it. Don't have your self-doubts. Just throw the self-doubts out the window and do it. And make your dreams become realities.
Yeah.
It's just a question of time and perseverance, but you can do it. You can do it.
I think that's really good, especially we're not quite post-COVID era, but we're in some sort of era that really, if you're not working on and doing the things that you love, what are you waiting for? Get on it, right? Because time's a ticking for as always. So this was very good information, Liz. Good to hear about the process of self-publishing. Congratulations on all 3 of your books and your third one, Not Just Paris, Scenes from France, available from Amazon.com and your local Amazon, right? Do we say that now? Your local Amazon? If not now, when? That's right. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Polly. Liz, thanks so much. I really appreciate having this chat. I think it went really well. Don't you think it went well?
It did. You did.
And
You're
Liz was all worried
Great
about,
interviewer. You've got the experience,
I
Megan.
got some
You're
chops, right?
natural. You got those chops.
Liz was all concerned about sitting in her kitchen, and I'm so glad you sat in your kitchen because it just makes sense, right? Look at you, how cute you look in your
Sitting
kitchen.
in my kitchen, I have all my windows closed and it's 84 degrees.
Oh, yeah, I know it's a little hot out there, and so you can go take off your clothes now, okay? All right,
Dog was barking, so I shut the windows and I'm
yeah.
warm.
Well, okay, Liz, thank you so much for your
Thank
time,
you.
your knowledge. We'll be in touch. Mwah.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.